All right, welcome everyone to either the live video or the recording. Well, if you're hearing that announcement, you're probably on the recording, unless you were just like pouncing on it as soon as the notification came in. So, welcome to all of you that are showing up for the recording and engage. Please engage. We see the comments coming in, and let me know what's landing for you, what questions you have, all of that as we go through this. So what's going to happen here over the next couple months is we're going to do a bunch of relatively short trainings. I say relative because relative to our trainings generally, uh, these are going to be 20 minutes or less videos. And if I'm not done with the thought at the 20-minute mark, we're just going to cut the mic and just end the video. So what I want to do is touch on a lot of different topics that many of you who are in the coaching world or want to be in the coaching world are struggling with, or the questions that you're asking, or the questions that you're not asking, you should be asking, or the questions that you're really asking underneath the questions that you are asking, and just open up this major conversation with a bunch of different viewpoints, not necessarily viewpoints in terms of philosophies, but like focal points, right? We're going to look at it from this angle and that angle and this angle and that angle. And one of the things that we're going to talk about over the next couple months is what it looks like to make this a career, not just make some quick money. And so much of personal development in general is fueled by fads, right? It's how can you do something really quick and get a result really quick, and even when it works, it's still short term at best, right? Like the time that it takes to learn and implement something is going to be correlated to the time that that thing lasts. So if something is really easy to learn and you can implement it really quick, it won't last long because you could learn it quick and implement it quick. And I think what so many, and the problem with that is then when those results get exhausted and they run out, then you need another quick shot of either that thing over again or the next thing. And that's just not foundational. So if you really want coaching to be a career, even if it's like a part-time career, you have to see it through the lens of a career. And if you wanted to be a lawyer, you wouldn't be looking at hacks to just get into the courtroom and just win a couple quick cases, get in and get out and make however much money you possibly can and not have to go through the process of like passing the bar exam and all that kind of stuff. You just wouldn't even have that short-term mentality. So one of the things that we really want you to have is a long-term focus. And then you can implement however you want, right? You don't necessarily have to want to make this a full-time career, but you've got to be in it with foundational commitment. Because if you're not, I truly would just suggest you don't do that. Like you just don't do this. Don't get into this world that deserves full-time commitment with part-time effort. For your sake. It's not going to work out. So we've been doing this. We as a company have been doing this for nearly 2 decades in the personal development world, coaching specifically. We've had thousands and thousands and thousands of coaches in our community. We've certified hundreds and hundreds of coaches. So this is coming from many, many years of experience. Everything that we talk about all the time and all the topics that we're going to keep doing throughout the course of the next couple months here is going to be from that vein, right? And as a company, we made millions and millions of dollars. So we're also talking about real life results. We're not talking about theories and I hopes and I wishes. We're talking about I dids and I didn't and I learns and I fells, whatever, all the things, right? So that's the certainty that all this is coming from. And this first conversation that I want to have with you in this video is that even with the right strategy, nearly all coaches will fail. And that's because strategy is not the answer. Strategy is what nearly everybody's looking for, And because it's what nearly everybody is looking for, it's what nearly all the vendors are supplying, because that's what nearly everybody is demanding. As long as there's a demand, there will be supply. And in a world of personal development and coaching specifically that has no legal regulations, they can sell you whatever they want. And if you want something that's literally not possible, somebody will sell it. And I'm not saying that anybody who is a vendor, I mean, I'm a vendor in this industry. We are a vendor in this industry. So I'm not saying that anybody who's a vendor has nefarious intentions or malice or any of that sort of stuff. But the bottom line is, I think most people are putting too much value in strategy. We think that if we have the right strategy, then that's what success is going to come from. No. If you're in the franchise world and you want to invest in a Subway franchise, yeah, strategy is probably going to be way more important, and it will determine your success or failure. In the coaching world, when you are a human helping humans, and every single one of us are just traumatized beyond our ability to comprehend a lot of times, and we're just trying to stay above water, and we're just trying to live this life, and every single day is different than the last one, and we never experience any day the same, like we're just never not changing, then strategies which are based on fixed variables cannot work. Most strategies, I want you to really understand this, are based on fixed variables. Either the product doesn't change, the market doesn't change, the world doesn't change, social media algorithms don't change, what people are wanting doesn't change, the maturity of the markets doesn't change, and none of those things are true. So now, when you don't really know how to operate, and this is just all of us humans, this is how our brain works. When we don't really know how to operate in a certain area, if we're disoriented, if we feel overwhelmed, if we just, we just don't have the certainty going forward, then our brain is more susceptible to somebody coming in and going, don't worry about it, I got you. I'll tell you exactly what to do. And to the disoriented mind, that's like sugar-laced gold, right? Like that is what we want. It sounds so good and tastes so sweet, and we think it's going to be the thing we got to eat. My poetic mind wouldn't allow me to not rhyme there, but it's the worst thing, actually, for us to bet on, is this idea that the unknowable can be known. So in the world of serving people, everything is unknowable. In the world of entrepreneurship, everything is unknowable. In the world of exponentially changing technology, everything is unknowable. In the world of social media platforms, everything is unknowable going forward. You just don't know. And the good news, though, is there are things that you can know. It's just not strategy, in the sense of like knowing what strategy is going to work. What you can know is what you can bank on. What can you control and what can you bet on? And then you can build strategies that are temporary in nature, but have the understanding that when the winds change, I can take my understanding and I can take my alignment and then shift the strategy. But it's kind of like, if you learn to sail in a certain kind of boat, one of those boats that are in the, whatever the cup is, I'm forgetting the name of the cup, and the speed sailing boats and all that. Like, you learn how to sail in that kind of boat, and it requires a certain sort of wind, and you've got to have certain maneuvers and all that stuff. And then you take that same strategy and you apply it to a different boat in a different scenario, and you go from a lake to the ocean, or the ocean to the lake, and the wind's now coming from the left or the front or the back or whatever. The same strategy that worked before won't work now, and you'll die. You'll be stranded out there. So when the winds change, when the environments change, when the variables change, only foundation is going to be able to sustain that change. And then you can shift strategy. Nearly everybody is putting all their eggs in the basket of strategy. And that's why everything's coming down, because fads are only going to last for a short amount of time. So what we see a lot is coaches searching for the right strategy. I'm putting that in quotes, and then failing with that strategy for a couple of reasons. Number one, strategy ain't it. That's not what's going to determine your success or failure. A big part of that is that the more energy you put into finding the right strategy, then when that stops working, or if it never even starts working, the emotional disappointment that's going to come after you found the right strategy is almost impossible to articulate how devastating that is. Because if you have found the right strategy, especially if you were convinced by somebody that the strategy is right and you paid for it, now your ego is involved because you made a choice having decided that this thing is right. And then when that right thing doesn't work, that's a tough emotional scenario for the human to deal with. Because either you're the screw up and you need to change, or you need to admit that you were duped, that what you thought was the right strategy was actually the wrong strategy. And then how are you going to know going forward what to do? Because you really thought this one was the right one. So how are you going to make a decision next time? You have to wait till the next time is the really right one. But how do you trust yourself in making those choices? So the emotional impact of pressurizing the right strategy is one of the main reasons that most people in the coaching world fail, because that emotional pressure slows everything down. Taking action, implementing, making a new decision, changing courses when you realize this isn't the right one. And so much of it is just simply because of the pressure. So in the entrepreneurial world, one of the most important things for you to understand is that there is no right strategy. And if I told you the right strategy, I could give you the strategy that has made me as a person and the company millions of dollars. And there is no guarantee that any of you would be able to get one client with it, because you're different than me. And who you're serving is different than who I'm serving. And what worked for me in 2022 might not work for you in 2024. What worked for me in 2022 doesn't work for me in 2024. Hell, what worked for me in the early month of March in 2024 might not work in the middle of March in 2024. We just have to understand that things move so fast and change so fast, that it's what we are hoping is true that then causes expectations and gets our egos involved and all the emotional attachments. That's maybe the biggest overall common denominator problem in the coaching world. It's the idea that there is such a thing as a right strategy for any of us. There are millions of variables individually, environmentally, in each market. There are so many different variables, and what you're looking for is not right or wrong, it's alignment. Almost nobody is actually searching for alignment. What almost everybody is searching for is right or wrong. But the truth is, there is no right or wrong. There's only alignment. And this is either infuriating or liberating, depending on how you see it. To most people, it's infuriating, because we're programmed in a way to learn the right thing and then give that right thing back in some form of an assessment, right? You think about how we learn in school. We're given the information and then we're tested on the information. And if we give that information back in the right way, then we pass. We get a grade assessment, and then that leads to our report cards, and that leads to potentially getting degrees and like all the stuff that the educational system programs us with and conditions us inside of. So then it's infuriating when somebody comes around and goes, yeah, none of that matters anymore. None of that matters. And one of the analogies that we use all the time is it's like learning to live on the earth and then deciding that you now want to live on the moon. Okay, great. That's cool. And there's no gravity there. And there's no oxygen there. So if you operate at a fundamental level with gravity and oxygen, like you do on Earth, on the moon, you'll die. Now, most people intellectually understand this, but don't understand how deep this programming is, how deep this conditioning is. So it's infuriating to not be given the right answers or purchase the right answers energetically or financially, and then have those not. It's like being told by the math teacher 1 + 1 = 2, and then on the test it says, what does 1 + 1 equal? And you go 2 and you get it wrong. That's infuriating because you told me what the right answer was. And then how can the right answer be marked wrong? Yeah, because you're on the moon. So it's infuriating or liberating. Because what if you operated with the mentality that there truly is no such thing as right or wrong? Because if there isn't such a thing as right or wrong, then you would stop wasting any energy trying to discern right and trying to avoid wrong. You wouldn't waste any time with that because it's not even a thing anymore. That's not easy to do. But in the entrepreneurial world and in the coaching world, where this is so much more art than it is science, it's liberating to be able to go, well, since there's no such thing as right or wrong, I'm going to try the thing that I want to do. I'm going to try the thing that I think might work. And we never know what's going to work, but we can always just decide that we're going to try this and then see what happens. Now, to round out this conversation, the reason that most coaches, even if you have the aligned right strategy for you, even if we could wave a magic wand and go for you with the people that you're serving, with the thing that you're selling and who you are, this is the right strategy. Most people would still sabotage it, still mess it up. Why? Because again, it's not the strategy, it's the internal conflicts that cause people to sabotage. It's the internal insecurities that cause people to want to try to run from exposure or run from the spotlight or run from success. It's the internal stuff that has the power to outweigh strategy. So I'm going to stop there. Over the course of the next couple months, with all these videos that we're going to do, we're going to break a lot of those down. We are going to talk about some strategies, but we're really going to talk about the internal stuff, because if you don't get the internal stuff down, there is no strategy that's going to save you. There is no strategy that can overcompensate for your insecurity or your lack of alignment and then have it work for you. So we're going to keep breaking all those down. And in a couple months from now, in May 20th through 24, we are doing ECCP again. Many of you know what ECCP is. It's officially open. I'm not going to dive into that right now. We're going to open it up, tell you more details as we move along. But just know, if any of you are interested, you can go to coachshansmith.com/ECCP. Check it out. We've got a discount running right now that'll run for a while. We're going to keep opening that up in these conversations. And if you don't know how you relate to this conversation, or you don't know what your next step should be, then what I highly suggest you do is book a free consultation. You can go to coachshansmith.com/book-my-call and get on the line one-on-one, because this is an individual process. And let us help you decide what your next move should be by first understanding who you are. And that's another thing that's just not happening in the industry very often. It's just this assembly line approach. We're also doing a webinar on Wednesday, the 27th at 4 p.m. You'll hear more about that. I only have 10 more seconds. So we're going to end inside of 20 minutes, and we'll see you on the next video.